Hello dear friends, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to discuss about the upcoming lunar eclipse. It will happen in the night from the 4th to the 5th July. As we discussed in the last video of where we're discussing about the solar eclipse where it was happening on the 21st June, we were saying that these eclipses, they always come in cycles. So they are called Saros cycles, and this particular eclipse is part of the lunar Saros cycle 149, and it is the third eclipse in this cycle. So it's a very new cycle. It started 1984. Yeah, and it's every 18 years and 11 days a new eclipse in this cycle starts. And what is this cycle always starts with a very slight eclipse. So also this eclipse, since it is in the very beginning of the cycle, it is just a partial penumbral eclipse. So there is like the complete shadow, and then there is a partial shadow, or the penumbra. It's called penumbra. And in this eclipse, the moon will be just touched very slightly. So that is, the eclipse is caused by Ketu. So if we see here in the chart, Ketu is in the 6 degrees, the moon is in the 21st degrees. So they are 15 degrees apart, Ketu and the moon. So is the sun and Rahu. And so in these 15 degrees, if Ketu and moon will be very close together, as it was in the solar eclipse, they were just 1 degree apart, then we have a total eclipse. In this case, only 15 degrees apart, we have this scenario here, where it's only a part of the moon will be touched by the penumbra. All right, so so also whatever is indicated by this cycle, this indication will become more and will bear more fruits as the cycle matures and as it really comes to total eclipses, and that will be far in the future. The cycle lasts around 1300 years, and like in a half of it we have like the peak of the cycle. So whatever we're going to discuss about what this cycle entails, its indication will be only in seed form. It's not very strongly expressed, will not strongly manifest in the world. I believe it's a very positive eclipse, and why I believe so, that we are going to discuss now. So to see what this eclipse brings, we have to see the chart of the very first eclipse of this cycle, and this was on the 13th June 1984. Again, I'm going to use this technique where I'm analyzing the degrees of the planets. So each planet occupies a specific degree within its sign, and each degree is associated with a specific muhurta. There are 30 muhurtas, 30 degrees, and accordingly the planet will hold this type of significations. And this I have listed here. For those who want to study it by themselves in depth, they can just pause the video and just read all this through. I'm going to directly go to the conclusions. So what I see in this eclipse is it will bring reconciliation. Why I'm saying this is due to the placement of almost all the planets in a Venetian houses. So we have only the moon in Scorpio and Jupiter in Sagittarius, but all the other planets, Mars, Saturn, Mercury, Rahu, Sun, they're all in houses in Libra and Taurus, which are ruled by Venus. And also Venus is in Taurus, so Venus is strong. And Venus is a planet of universal love. It's a planet of win-win situations, win-win deals, win-win relationships. So kind of all these planets, the sun, which if we are talking about geopolitical or the mundane astrology, which considers the events in the world, the sun is considered the government, Mercury the media, Saturn the people, Mars the fighting spirit of the people, but also police and so on. They're all kind of reconciled by Venus. They're in the Venetian house, they're in the Venetian house. Venus is there and calming everything down with its soft nature. And at the same time, we have Jupiter in his own house of morals, strong morals, and so on. So that is this part, reconciliation. Then maturity. I'm coming to maturity because Saturn is in exaltation, and Jupiter is also in his own house, very strongly, nicely situated. Jupiter in the 17 degrees in the middle of the house, very strong, awake, in an adult condition. Saturn as well, 17 degrees, both are in the 17 degrees. So they're both slower moving planets. Saturn and Jupiter are the most slow moving planets among them. They are both in in their good dignities. Jupiter in his Mula Trikona, or at least in his own house, and Saturn in exaltation. They're in the degree, and then the third one is leadership. And leadership, I'm saying because the nakshatra the moon occupies is Cheshta. Cheshta is ruled, the deity that rules Cheshta is Indra, which is the god, the king of heaven, the king of all the gods. So it has it entails meanings like management, power, rulership, leadership. And this Aja Ekapada Muhurta, that is the same deity that is also ruling the Purva Bhadra Pada Nakshatra, and this is associated with Vamanadev. Vamanadev, this is this incarnation of Lord Vishnu. And Vamanadev, he incarnated as the son of Kashyapa and Kashyapa and Aditi, because the demigods, they were have lost all their properties in the war to the demons. The demons occupied their cities and their palaces, and Vamanadev came to claim all this back and restore the order in the universe. So he appeared as a dwarf and priestly dwarf, Brahman priest. When he was born, he was given gifts by all the devas. Brahma himself came to give him the holy thread. Varuna gave him a very nice umbrella that sprinkles water, that refreshes in the heat. And just from the top of my mind, I don't remember everything, but that is this picture showing this. And then he went to the place where Bali Maharaj, the leader of the demons, was performing his sacrifices. And Bali Maharaj, he had a specific pride that he will give everyone everything they ask for. He had that pride that he's now the sovereign ruler over the whole universe, and all the properties of the universe, all the planets, all the different land tracts belong to him. So whatever one asks, he will be ready to give. So this Lord Vishnu, in the form of this small boy, asked for 3 steps of land. Everyone was laughing, but he insisted. And Bali Maharaj, he agreed. But then after he agreed, Lord Vishnu expanded himself. And within 2 steps, he claimed all the lands in the universe. He claimed the whole universe. And in the first step he did, he made a small crack in the covering of the universe. According to Vedic cosmology, the universe is an egg-shaped and has a covering made out of the different elements. And and that egg is situated in the causal ocean, where innumerable other universes also are gathered. Yes. So that is the Vedic cosmology, and within that egg, Vamandev, he expanded himself, and with one step he made a crack in that shell of the universe, egg-shaped universe, and one drop of the causal ocean from the water, from the ocean where all the universes are swimming in, came in, and that drop became the Ganges River. So therefore Ganges River is considered very holy, because it is pure transcendental water that comes from beyond the material sphere, and it also washed the lotus feet of Vamandev. So this Muhurta, Aja Ekapada, so after that, Vamandev, he occupied the whole universes, but had still one step left, because he was promised 3 steps. So Bali Maharaj said, the 3rd step you can put on my head, and by that, but Bali Maharaj became famous as the great devotee of the Lord, and by that he surrendered all his properties and in the end even himself to the Lord. So this Aja Ekapada Nakshatra, Muhurta, same like also that Nakshatra will be in the same way, is connected to this first step of this Vamandev. So that first step, it entails leadership and also to initiate something new. And also it brings about something very wonderful that purifies the whole universe, like the Ganges River was initiated by that step. So we're having here two very mature planets, Saturn in exaltation, Jupiter in his own house, in very strong degrees, having this meaning of initiating a new leadership and bringing about a positive change. So in the terms of the world events at the moment, I would say that what this eclipse will bring is, it will bring for that people want to come together and are kind of enough from all this quarreling, so the reconciliation, and they're becoming very mature in their thinking, and thinking how we're going to manage this situation for the benefit of all. So that that is what this eclipse brings. All right. And we can see here, we're going to talk about specific about Europe, in the Berlin, which is the capital of Germany, and Washington for the America. So in America, we have very nice the Muhurta of Vishwa, integrity and unity. So so the aspect of this coming together and want to unify again is very strong in America. And also the ascendant is in the 1st degree in Rudra Nakshatra Muhurta. It's the very first Muhurta, which has to do with the birth. So what is interesting is that exactly at this time, which is very much in the context, or very much fits into the context of this this eclipse, I came across on YouTube on this video from John Mark channel, and he's saying here that on the July 4th they want to meet in Richmond, Virginia, and they're calling for all the leaders of the different communities and also all different political leaders from all the political spectrum to meet there to have a declaration of reformation. He's some kind of I don't know exactly what right-wing. He's saying he's right-wing, but he's proclaiming some kind of proprietarianism. I have not looked into it too much, but definitely this type of event where people come together, and he's inviting, although he's a right-wing, he's not saying that this is only for right-wing people. He says this is for everyone. We should all come together and we should find a solution and stop the fighting and make grown-up decisions. He's using the word in this video, the adults in the room should meet or something like that. So this very much fits to what I'm saying here, what this eclipse cycle brings. Reconciliation, mature actions, adults in the room meet and they come together to manage the situation. Okay. Another one thing I want to highlight here about this eclipse is this Mars-Saturn conjunction. Usually Mars-Saturn conjunctions are not considered as very nice, since Mars is the planet that wants to initiate and go in and fix stuff. It's the soldier who goes in and kills the people when in a fast manner. It is the engineer that goes in and builds something using his willpower and so on. And Saturn is the planet of limitation and restrictions, and things have to take time. It's the significator of nature. Things have to take its natural course. So usually Mars-Saturn energies, they're not going well together, because one is pushing and wants to do now and just make it done and make it happen with the head through the wall. And Saturn is just saying, no way, you're not gonna put your head through the wall. You have to nicely wait until the time is right and so on. So this energy is also very strong with this eclipse, which means that most probably the way he's envisioning things, that now things should go quickly and we're gonna set these points, we're gonna discuss about these points and we're gonna implement them immediately. That is not going to happen. It's not going to happen quickly. You cannot force it with your willpower and your enthusiasm, but things will just take its natural course. But it's not said that it's not gonna happen. It's just gonna happen by its own account, not by your will, by enforcing your will. Yeah. So this is this Mars-Saturn conjunction that is there in this reconciliation. Also, just today I got another interesting video. Quite like this elderly, very jolly gentleman. He's like an ex-CIA spy, and he's calling here also for the same thing, that the leaders should come together and make mature decision and manage the situation for the benefit of all, which is exactly in the fits perfectly in the context of this eclipse. All right. So this is the Saros cycle. So we discussed about this story. So this is now the eclipse itself. So we have to keep in mind that this eclipse is part of the cycle, but we can look at the things in more detail now by the chart of the eclipse itself. So once again, if you want to really read all the different degrees and everything here, just pause the video and just look at it. I'm gonna jump directly to the conclusion. And what I would say is, what this brings is a purification of old and a start of a new paradigm, it indicates. And that is, on one hand, I'm saying that because the nakshatra it's happening is Appa, is Purvashada nakshatra, and the deity of Purvashada nakshatra is Appa, the deity, the goddess of the waters and ablutions. Ablutions means like ritual cleansings. And it very much actually fits to this story of the Ganges, because we go into the Ganges and take a bath in the holy waters to purify our consciousness, purify our materialistic consciousness, and derive spiritual benefit from it. So this, therefore I'm saying purification. And why of the old? Because we see the sun and the moon, which are in political sense are the governments, or the king and the queen, like the established system. They are in the degree 21st degree of Yama. Yama is the god of death. This is after the person die, they will come to the court of Yamaraj, where they will be judged according to their deeds. So the time for the governments to be judged has come. And that can be good, can be bad. It depends on the deeds. And basically, the whole situation, whole atmosphere is very hostile because Ketu, Rahu, they are in this Vaira, connected to the Vaira Muhurta. And we're going to discuss in the next week about next video about July new moon, the and general the whole July August month, and there we will see that this Vaira Muhurta will become very strong, and especially on the dark moon day, just a few hours after that, there will be an exact Sun Saturn opposition, and I believe that all these riots and all these things, they will try get a culmination in that period. But we're going to talk about this in details in the next video. So therefore, make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you will be notified and not miss it out. And if you're watching this on Instagram, then you can, I believe, also turn on notifications or something. All right, so one thing is also interesting is that this Karana is the half of the Tithi of the moon day, and it shows it is one part of the Panjanga, of the 5 limbs of time, and it shows the reason for incarnation. And this is ruled also by Brahma. This Balava Karana is ruled by Brahma, which also shows to get something new. It's a desire for creating. So it emphasizes that new ideas should come up. New ideas will come up. New ideas of how to lead the people, how to manage the situation. Leadership is also, which I mentioned before, has a lot to do with management. Also, how to manage the situation. I don't believe there will be crystallized one leader. One big leader will come forward who really brings us to a glorious new world or something like that. But just the sense of leadership will come more in the people who are already leaders, and just the desire that things should get managed well. That is becoming prominent within the minds of the people. Again, Washington, if you look at for the United States, we have this Muhurta Ratrinath, and as we said, Yama is the place where we die and we get judged by Yamaraj. Then there comes Vidatri Muhurta, which is 22nd Muhurta, which then is about distribution. Means we will really taste the fruits of our deeds. We really get it we will get it. And then after that, we will prepare for a new incarnation, for a new birth. So the soul will be transferred to the womb of a mother. Whenever we die and we lose our body, we will get a new body within the womb of a mother. Because first, the body will be developed within the mother's womb. So that Ratrinath is actually literally means the Lord of Night, which is the moon. And the moon is an indication of mother. So again, that some new paradigm will come up, especially in the USA, because the situation in USA, the political situation is very tense, and it really needs a new start, a movement towards a new paradigm that will be healing. And that is also shown the Ashwini Muhurta, which is again connected to the Ashwini Nakshatra also. It's the same deity, which has to do in one hand with transport and things are moving forward, in the other sense also healing, because they are the healers of the gods. So therefore I'm said from beginning that this is a very positive eclipse, and I think though we will not now see in the news or now we have found the solution to all our problems, but it gives an initiation in the minds of the peoples, of the people, of the leaders, that we have to come together, we have to make mature decisions, we have to move forward and heal the situation, and new paradigms, new ideas will come up. So it's a very beautiful thing. So yeah, in for Germany and Europe, Berlin, there's the Mitra Muhurta going on at that time, and the ascendant is in the Bala, is connected to the Bala Muhurta in the 10th degree. So this is children, childhood, and friendship. Mercury in the 12th. So there things might come up regarding children. There is some scandal now going on regarding child abuse and things. So it might be that the betterment in this area will come. And also, I mean, family life is always about how to deal with children also. So it might be that the minds of the people will become more concerned for the welfare of the children, and also their relationships with their neighbors and friends and supporters. All right, I'm not going to talk about China anyway, but I just put it there for the completion. But okay, so that is what I wanted to say regarding the eclipse. And now in the second part of the video, we're going to talk about some supportive ideas and inspirations from the Vedic culture. So since this eclipse has a lot to do with leadership, I want to give an example. What is from the view of the Vedic scriptures is an ideal leader, and how the world would look like if we have ideal leaders. And for that, I want to first introduce you to one concept. To many of you, it might be completely new because it is a concept that is not at all prevalent in Western thinking. I personally came in contact with this concept first time in school when I was like 14 years old, in the 7th grade or something. I read a book about the Hopi Indians, the Native American Hopi tribe, and there it was described that in earlier days they did their rituals, and due to the rituals, Mother Nature was very pleased, and the rain was falling in a very pleasant manner, not too strongly, so that the water will just flow away, and not enough that the nature will not be nourished enough, but the rain will drop in such a way that it is perfectly absorbed by the ground and promotes perfect growth of the plantations. And they were planting mainly corn was their main grain they were planting. And they said at that time the corn was of much higher quality than now, with much more iron and different types of vitamins and so on. And there I first time came into this concept that when the humans are of higher consciousness and they are living in harmony with nature, and not only the gross nature but the subtle spirits of nature, and give respect to the subtle spirits and like the metaphysical world, and know about that and respect it, and also take their role, play their role properly within the context of the whole world, how it functions, then nature, the weather will be very pleasant and so on. So yeah, and the same concept, and this is a spiritual concept which says that matter, so what we perceive and what our houses are made of and the world we are living in, is based on spirit. So that is the spiritual conception. I mean, consciousness is above matter. So it's the same way. And the material conception is that matter is above spirit. So in material conception we have this Big Bang, and then there's a bunch of of neutrons flying around, slowly developing to higher elements, and they are finally somehow gathering together to a planet, and there will be some kind of mysterious liquid that then forms to more complex proteins, which will then miraculously connect together to DNA and then form a cell, and then the cell will develop to a living human being that loves and hates and whatever the humans do. So that is a material conception, that our emotions and everything is only a result of chemicals. And I mean, on this channel, Vedic Spirituality, we are not looking at things in this conception, we're looking at things in this conception. So everything is based on consciousness and spirit. So that is in our body, that the body is maintained as long the spirit soul is present, and at the time of death the spirit soul goes away from the body, and then therefore the body is inactive. And in the same way, whatever happens in the world, means the wind that blows, the clouds that form, the rain that falls, the ocean that rises and sets in the tides and low tides, the waves that continuously hit the shores, all this behind is consciousness, is spirit. In the end, it is the supreme spirit, which is God, but it is managed by many spirits, which are the different gods. So in Hinduism, and also in all different other traditions, which I believe all actually are finally connected, like the Celtic, the Nordic traditions, they were talking of many gods, which the god of thunder, the god of fire, and the god of thing. So that is all based on this concept, that fire has behind a consciousness that rules over it, that makes it happen. All right. And the material science, of course, when they're saying that when oxygen and I don't know, some propane gas, I don't know how in English, propane gas, gas, when that this gas, which has mainly based on carbon, I just don't know what is the exact molecule structure, but mostly based on carbon, that it somehow connects to the oxygen, and therefore we have a result CO2 and water when it burns. Of course that is true, because that is observation, but why it happens and why the energy behind it that makes it happen, and the attraction between the molecules and the atoms and so on, that they cannot explain. Actually, they can just observe and say what's happening. That's all right, no problem about that. But why it is happening, and the spiritual conception says, and the Vedas say, it happens because spirit is behind it. There is a will, there is consciousness behind it that makes these things happen. All right, so this is the two different concepts, and then we jump to the Bhagavad Gita, which now introduces us to the concept that the rain fall and the weather in general and the climatic situation in the world depends on the behavior of the people. So it is says here, this is the third chapter, 14th text here, Anat Bhavanti Bhutani, and so on. It said, all living bodies subsist on food grains, so which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yagya, sacrifice, and yagya is born of prescribed duties. So it says that what we need for living, that depends on what earth gives us. And here is now said grains, but we can take it a bit further. We can also say wood for building houses. Also clothing is also coming from the earth. It depends on the cotton fields. It depends on the sheep, how they give wool and so on. It depends on the hemp plantations that give hemp fiber. Also our riches, precious stones, gold, silver, all this also depends on earth. The mountains, they produce that, and we get it from the earth. So whatever we need, all the riches we need to sustain our life and to have a healthy, happy life, all depends on the earth, and the earth depends on rain or on the weather condition. Now, okay, rain, especially for the crops that grow, in terms of diamonds from the mountains and so on, it's not rain, but still it depends on the goodwill of the gods, of Mother Earth, on the goodwill of Lord Indra, who produces the wind. And they will show our goodwill, rains produced by performance of yagya, if we're doing sacrifice. So sacrifice, in the Vedic term, if we hear the word sacrifice, what do we think? It's some kind of ritual where we like cut the throat of a goat or something like that. This is from the Bible, the sacrifice. That these sacrifices were there in ancient times, but in fact, according to Vedas, in a current age, this is not permitted, and not at all encouraged to. So what it actually means, yagya, it actually means that we please God. It means that yagya purusha priti vidhana. So yagya purusha means the one to whom the sacrifice is towards. So it is towards the pleasure of God. Okay, sorry, just my son came in, so I just paused it, but let's continue from here, sorry. So yagya, now my daughter is coming, and she's going. Okay, sorry for that. So yagya, rains are produced by performance of yagya. So yagya purusha priti vidhan. Priti means love, to please someone. Vidhan means to give, and yagya purusha is the one we are trying to please, the one who the yagya is, the sacrifice is towards. Yes, so that is God. So we want to please God. So pleasing God, that is actually yagya. To give our love to Him, that is the real yagya. And the yagya is born out of prescribed duties. So yagya's prescribed duties, it's more or less that we are not independent beings. We are creations. We are not creators. We are not independent, completely independent beings. We are here. We have to share this world with 7 billion other peoples, and not only other human beings. We also have to share it with all the plants, and all the insects, and all the animals. So we are not here and can just do whatever we like, as our crazy mind just dictates us, but we are here to and have to co-live with others. And so the point I want to make is that we are not independent. There are a certain set of rules that we have to function in, so to say, and these are the natural laws, the laws that are just inherent in creation, inherent in our nature, because we are also part of creation. We are also creatures. So the example that I would like to make here is that when a programmer creates artificial intelligence, and he creates a robot with artificial intelligence, and he makes it for, let's say, healing people, like the Baymax. You know, Baymax in the movie. In that Big Hero 6, that movie, my son was watching that. There he created this robot for being a nurse, and so on. So if he creates that robot in that way, and the robot acts in the way that he's supposed to heal people and not to harm to them and to heal them, then the creator will be very happy with it. But if now this robot goes haywire and just starts to kill people instead of healing them, then the creator of that robot will not be happy. So in the same way, we are created for a certain reason, and that is to find out what that reason is and what is our constitutional nature That is the that we have to find out, that we have to know as human beings. And if we know that and we act in that manner, then we are pleasing to God. So therefore it said Yagya is born from prescribed duties. So this is prescribed duties, I would say, in this context, I would say it's our acting in our constitutional nature according to the natural laws that are inherent in creation. And if we act so, know them, first of all we have to know them, so we have to be educated in these things. And if we act so, we please the Lord. Then we are acting in sacrifice, and whatever we do is pleasing to the Lord. And as such, all the representatives of the Lord who are taking care of the cosmic duties like rain and weather and climate and oceans and productions of food and productions of wealth like the gold and silver in the mines and so on, all these things, these representatives, they will be pleased also, and they will supply us with plenty, and then there will be great abundance of everything. But all depends on the mind of the people, of the behavior of the people. If the people, human beings, behave according to their dharma, or according to their inherent nature, which is the dharma of the soul, which is love, which is service to the Supreme, which is to please the Supreme, if people act like that, automatically the world will turn into a paradise where the climate will be great, the weather will be great, there will be everything in abundance. Mother Nature will just produce everything beautifully and in abundance. So the discussion about climate change is a complete ignorant discussion, because they are, when we go back here, they are completely stuck in this conception, which is in the terms of Vedic understanding, ignorance, dark ignorance of materialism. All right. That just as a side note. So now I want to read from the Bhagavatam, which describes a time in history where the society was ruled according to this principle. And this was the time 5,000 years ago when Yudhishthir Maharaj was the king. And there are 3 verses we're going to read which describe these days. So here is said, this is first canto, 10th chapter, text 4 here. Kamang vavarsa parjanaha parjanyaha sarva kama dughamahi sichuhu sma vrajan gavaha payaso davastir muda. Okay, anyway. During the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthir, the clouds showered all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of man in profusion. Alright, so here we have it. Due to its fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk. So in Vedic culture, the cow protection was a very, very integral and important part of society, because according to Ayurveda, the milk of the cow is has, if it taken in a proper manner, will increase the intelligence of man, and it will it will produce such brain tissue where people will be able to understand spiritual topics. But this discussion has to be looked at very differentiated, because not every cow is equal every cow. I mean, the modern hybrid cows, they will not have, and the milk of the modern hybrid cows will not have this type of properties. Because like buffalo milk is also one type of cow, a buffalo, but buffalo milk makes you rather dumb. It makes you strong in body, and because it's very high in fat, but it makes you dull in your brain. But whereas milk from a pure cow, and what is a pure cow? That is a big topic. I'm also not too much conversant with it. Just that milk really makes you sharp in your brain. If it's consumed in a proper manner. If it's like processed in the most terrific, horrible ways that kills all the vitamins, of course that milk will be mostly creating disease and so on. But anyway, but what is here saying that the cows were so well treated that out of cheerful attitude, they were so out of their motherly love, they had so much milk that they even moistened the grazing grounds with it. And it's also like that, that if a mother, a human mother, gave birth to the child, and her milk produces, if she's just seeing out of happiness, somehow it just milk just to flow, because she's like so emotionally touched by the by her child, that just the milk starts to flow. So for many mothers, the milk just flows out, and therefore my wife, she used breast pads, so that not always the bra will be too much wet. So it is for a producing mammal, which if they're very happy, means the milk produces more. And I know I have not personally experienced that, because I have no connection to any type of farming or taking care of cows and so on. But I heard from someone who takes care of cows, and this is especially in the context where a cow is taken care in a spiritual community, where also the milk is used in the temple worship and so on, that the cows were giving milk without even giving birth to the calf, because they were treated with such dignity and such love that just out of natural affection, the cow started to produce milk. So that was the situation during the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira. So let's go to the next verse. And they're saying, the rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, active drugs, in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. So the king didn't need to screw the citizens and steal their money, but he was just such a godly, God-pleasing king, and he also educated his citizens in these high values, so that in generally the atmosphere was so auspicious, and the cooperation between human beings and the metaphysical world and the metaphysical functioning of the universe was so in harmony that just everything was in such an abundance that there was just enough. Yeah. Then we have here, because of the kings having so no enemies, and living beings were not at any time disturbed by mental agonies, diseases, or excessive heat or cold. So the climate was very, very well. There was not excessive heat, not excessive cold. There was no drought and no floods, no calamities, because, as said, everything was in harmony on the physical, metaphysical level. And also the king, as well as all the citizens, they were very much well educated in what is the nature of the soul, what is the duty of the soul, what is our inherent nature, and they lived it. And they were, and as such, as we discussed in the Bhagavad Gita verse, it was pleasing to God, and therefore nature was just supplying in abundance. So, according to Vedic understanding, this was the situation on planet Earth, or on Earth, during the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira, which was 5,000 years ago. All right. All right. So that is what we can expect from a good leader. And so I hope very much that in the context of the upcoming eclipse, which is here, the seed of this type of leadership that leads to abundance and harmony for all the living beings not only the human beings but also the plants and the animals and the cows especially also, so that this will give some inspiration to the world. What I'm saying, I'm sorry, lost the red thread. But I want to say is that what I want to say is that this eclipse that is coming has the potential to lead to at least give us some impulse into the direction of such leadership that we discussed here in the Bhagavatam, and that we are steering to a nice direction. So it's not going to happen soon, because also this eclipse is in the very beginning of the cycle. It's just the second eclipse of the cycle, but at least some impulse into that direction will be set free in the minds of the human society with this eclipse. Yeah. Okay. All right. So thank you very much for watching. I have one thing more I want to show you, and that is this video here. And this shows how the cities were looking like before the First World War. And this is not especially Germany, but I know from wait, I'll turn off the sound. This is especially Germany, but I know from other research I did earlier about history that more or less the whole earth, all the cities, all the major cities in the world were looking this gorgeous not too long time ago, like 100, 200 years ago. And looking at these pictures, I would like to raise some point that as I mentioned while reading this Bhagavad Gita verse, is that the wealth and prosperity of human society depends on what nature gives us. It depends on the food that grows on the fields. It depends on the precious metals and precious stones that are given by the mountains and by Mother Earth, which are given by Mother Earth. And what is very striking is that at this time of human history, before the First World War, all the currencies, means all the assets people had, were backed by a gold standard. The dollar and all the different currencies, they were backed up with, tangible material, tangible prosperity, which is given by Earth. So therefore that connection. Whereas shortly before the First World War, the banking system changed in the US. Those who do not know about that, they should really learn about that, because that is very important. Also very important to know in the context of the big changes that are happening now in the world. And that the way the currency came into life was changed. By that time, there was central banks that were privately owned. They are now issuing the currencies. And during this time of First, Second World War, and then also later on other wars like Vietnam War, the currencies went off the gold standard. That means the money that we have and which we call our wealth, the bank account, and also the buildings that we build with that money, is not anymore backed by something real and physical, not anymore backed by gold, which is a gift of Mother Earth, which is Mother Earth gives to the people on the behalf of the Supreme Lord, which gives more if he is pleased with our good behavior, as discussed, so on. Yeah. So if we now compare how the cities and the buildings are built these days, and how these cathedrals, these gorgeous buildings are built that day, we can just see the different in artistic value and also in the terms of health. These buildings, I believe they were very healthy to stay in. The energy was good. And nowadays we are poisoning ourselves with chemical paints and we are poisoning our atmosphere with electro smoke and Wi-Fi and so on, and all these new houses and the new cities and all this thing is based on fake money, so to say, which is just not much more than just some electrons in a computer. It's just some numbers in the computer. Whereas these times, where we see the pictures now right here on the screen, these times were built on a gold-backed currency. Means this was real, tangible wealth. Okay, so this is just one thought on the end. And yeah, let's look forward for this great inspirational lunar eclipse. And not only in the political field things can change, but we can also in our personal life take inspirations from that and derive good inspirations how we manage our life more maturely and lead a life of better prosperity. So that all can come up with this lunar eclipse. So thank you very much for listening. Please excuse my inability to express myself very clearly. I'm just doing this just from the top of my mind. And please like the video, please subscribe, please comment if you have any questions. And thank you very much. Yeah, see you in another video. Next video will be about the July-August situation of the world according to the transits. So see you then.